many times I do this, I'm still like, oh. Everybody's saying, I'm ready.
Yes, I am ready. So today I'm going to talk to you about the power of decision, because it is one of the most important things that you'll learn, because it will change everything. One of the most overlooked drivers, because most people, what they do is always think about, what's the strategy? What am I missing? What's the marketing? How much time? We're always looking at what are the things that are driving our business, but the one thing that really, in the end, is driving your business is the beliefs that you have about your business. And that gap between what you actually know and how you show up is where those beliefs land. So a little bit about me. I am a transformational mindset and law of attraction coach, and I work with entrepreneurs and business leaders in helping them to really identify what are the beliefs that they hold about themselves and their business, and making sure that that's aligned with what they want to achieve in their business and in their life. I started out having a master's degree in counseling, and very quickly realized that 8 hours sitting with somebody, listening to their problems, was just not going to work for me. And so I've had a very varied career, from being a clinical social worker, director of social services at a psych hospital, to working 20 years in a corporate environment where I did admissions and marketing for a private residential organization that provided services for kids and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So basically my job was sales. I was working with families to sell them our program. I was working with government agencies selling our program. And we grew to the point where our company was sold to a private equity, which was probably the worst thing that could happen, because human services and private equity don't go well together. That company is no longer in existence. I left before all that happened and started an entrepreneurial journey, which I literally just completed a 9-year cycle. So I've been a network marketer. I've had 3 jobs. I've been let go from 2, set free from 1, and started my coaching business in 2020. Opened up Nurture Mind, Body, and Spirit in 2024. And I will tell you, and I'm sure you all, raise your hands if you'll agree with this, having your own business is the biggest step in your personal development journey. Everybody, you can agree with that? Because it all comes up. Number one, you don't know what you're doing, so you have to learn, and there's a huge learning curve for that if you've never done it. All of the stuff that you've learned as a child starts coming up. Am I good enough? Can I do this? Am I too old? All of those beliefs you have to work through. And so today I'm going to talk to you about a really easy way to think about that, so that you can start changing those beliefs. All right, so the real challenge here is not a strategy. It's not that you don't have enough time. It's not that you don't have enough resources. What's really driving what you're doing in terms of showing up is the beliefs that you have. Now, we tend to always focus on those outside strategies, and that's one of the things that I have found is, whether you're looking at it from a personal standpoint or from a business standpoint, it's always what's happening out there. If I just take another course, if I just learn a new skill, if I just figure out that right strategy, it's all going to work. But what tends to happen is that you buy the book, you do the course, you do the strategy, and then you still don't consistently show up in your business. How many people can relate to that? You know what you need to do, and yet the actions don't necessarily match. And so that gap between what you know you need to do and the actual action consistently to get the results is what we're going to talk about today. Those beliefs that I'm talking about in terms of yourself and your business is something that most of us learned from the ages of 0 to 7. We are a sponge, and our parents, our teachers, the media, everything around us shapes that. And we don't have the brain functioning in that moment, the prefrontal cortex, to really understand whether those beliefs are true or not. So we just adopt them. They become part of your subconscious. And you may be making decisions every single day about today, this is what I'm going to do. And your subconscious is functioning on another level. And most of the time, we don't really understand that. And so the work that I do is about helping to really uncover that. And how does this work? Now, what I'm going to share with you about this human being operating system, it's based on behavioral psychology. And one of the things that, let me just back up for a second. The thing about me and why I love this work and why this is so important for me is that it's a mix, I'm a mix of spirituality, neuroscience, and behavioral psychology. So the things that when I first started my business and I was a law of attraction coach, all the things that I was talking about while have been around for a really long time really became apparent now here in since like the last 10 years actually. And it all really started with The Secret, because The Secret talked to us about what you focus on is what you get more of. And all the things that I worked on with my clients at that time when I first started my business had to do with just changing how you think, but I didn't really have a system. And one of the things that I'm so excited about is that the science has finally caught up. Like everything that I'm going to tell you, there's scientific backing for it now. Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, Harvard, I mean, there's just so much study around neuroscience, neuroplasticity, how behavior psychology works. So this operating system is basically your beliefs inform your thoughts, which then inform your feelings, which then inform your actions, and you get a result. So if you think money's hard to make, or business is hard, or business is inconsistent, then you're going to have thoughts around that. And that's going to create feelings of doubt, overwhelm, overthinking, and those lead to an action or an inaction. For most people, if you're starting to have those kinds of feelings, most of the time, if it's an action, it's going to be things like going to Starbucks and getting another coffee, or scrolling on Instagram and seeing what's going on in the world right now. You're not going to be doing the action that you want to be doing. And that action is always going to give you a result. And those results are always about the belief that you've had. So that belief is always driving your results. And so people think that in their experiences in life, those beliefs were formed because of the results that they've gotten, not the other way around. And what's really exciting about this work is that it works the other way around. So if you change your beliefs, your thoughts are going to be different, your feelings are going to be different. Your ability to take action and get the results you want will be there for you. Okay, so how are results created? It's not the thoughts that you keep repeating. Beliefs are just the thoughts that you keep repeating to yourself, all right? And it's really just a decision. And in the work that I do through the methodology that I've studied, it's basically just a decision. Just like you decide that you don't want this job anymore and you figure out what you need to do in order to get a new job, it is the same thing. And a lot of times people don't quite get, like, how do you change a belief? Like, it just feels very ethereal, it's kind of out there, but how do you change it? But David came up with this distinction that beliefs are just decisions. And just like we make decisions every single day, we can make a decision about what we want to believe. Ooh, it's warm in here. Okay, so they can be changed just because they're decisions. Now in business, where does this show up? And this is what we call the entrepreneurial loop or the business carousel. Again, constantly looking for something outside of yourself. But if we go back to the model, what you believe is what you prove, okay? Then if you're not good at sales, what ends up happening? If you believe that you're not good at sales, you're going to start feeling doubt. You're going to start feeling something about yourself. Maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you don't know enough. You're going to start feeling like, oh my God, maybe I'm going to get rejected. And what's the action? You don't follow up. You don't make the phone calls. You don't send out the email. And then you get a result. Your revenue is inconsistent. You're not getting the calls back. You're not making the sales, and your revenue is not consistent. And so you can focus on the action part of it, but if we go back to that loop that we just talked about, it's not really you. It's the belief that you have. And so if we go back to what is that belief? One of the things when I work with my clients is we go back to what's the last time that you had that feeling of not being enough or not doing what you were supposed to do. You got up in the morning and today I'm going to do this. I'm going to make my 10 phone calls. I'm going to send my 3 emails. And then in the afternoon you realize that you've been scrolling, you went for a walk, you're not doing what you set out to do. Well, what we do, or what I do with my clients, is to actually have them think about, well, what was the thought that was going on in your head? Because that's the thought, that's the belief if you take it back. And one of the things when you work with clients is to really help them to kind of dig a little deeper. Because we all have our surface answers about what is happening and how we feel about it, but really digging a little deeper to really find out what's behind that. One of the things that I was going to ask you is if you have any questions as I'm speaking, please feel free to ask me those questions. So what is something that you've said about your business that you've said more than once? Because that could also be a clue. I know for me, when I started, I had such a difficult time with the learning process of it because I had to work through those beliefs around, am I good enough to do this? I've never been an entrepreneur. Am I too old? Because when I left corporate, I was in my 50s. So, it's a new journey to start out to try to make this happen. And like I said before, the personal development is definitely a part. The reason I'm a coach, honestly, is because people kept telling me, you should be a coach, you should be a coach. And when I did network marketing and I worked my butt off for 1.5 years and literally did not become successful. Now, there's a bunch of things about that when you're doing network marketing. It's a long thing, a long lifespan for the success. But for me, I was like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I make this happen? Like, I'm no different than my friend who got me into the company who's making, tons of money every month. What's wrong with me? And in that work is when I realized, okay, number one, maybe this is not really in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing. And sometimes it could be that. But what I learned is that belief of what's wrong with me, for me, has been one of the core belief systems that I've had to work through. And at the end of the day, the work is, there's nothing wrong with me. And you look back on, what have I accomplished? And as I said to you before, like over that 9-year span, it's been incredible. I have manifested these amazing jobs, and then they ended when they needed to end. I started my coaching business, and that has been an incredible journey to where I am in this moment, because when I started and where I am, oh my God, the bookstore was a dream that I had when I was in my 20s. So I can kind of look back and say, is there something wrong with me, or is this just part of the journey? And so a huge part of it is just kind of normalizing from a business standpoint those ups and downs that are just part of being an entrepreneur. Now, from a business standpoint, where does this show up for you right now? in terms of this belief or this lack of result that you might be experiencing? April?
I think for me, it's, I'm never gonna make what I made in corporate, you know? I had that belief, and just going in, people would be like, what's your estimated, when I would open the bank account, what's your estimated annual income? I'm like, I have no clue, because I'm new to this, right? So that's been a belief that, and I think I'm working through that as I'm getting new clients and things like that. I'm realizing the potential is there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely was a struggle.
Sure, absolutely. Anybody else want to share what that's been like? Lauren?
I'll share. I'm very in this world and do this work, so I'm ready to go from zero to vulnerable. He's already laughing. Mine is, this is when I'm familiar with these tools in this process. I've been batting down regularly, is that I've already peaked. Because I had a very, very successful business, and things happened in our family that required me to step back, and now I'm having a hard time feeling like that wasn't it. So that's the thought that I'm constantly backing away of you've peaked, you've already done it, you've had your time. Great, so.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
And if you think back, we all have that. There is one thing, if you really are honest with yourself and do the work, because you can just kind of be sliding around and not really taking the time to really look at what's going on with you. Because at the end of the day, we are the drivers of our life and of our business. And for me, one of the biggest things that if you know me and you've talked to me, my thing is stepping into your power, knowing how powerful you are, and that you are the creator of your life. Granted, you're co-creating with whatever that higher power is. For me, it's the creator or universe. I kind of use those back and forth, but it could be God, it could be Allah. Nature. Everybody has their own thing. It is the ability to know that you are co-creating. And whatever you decide, and that's a really important word, because again, what I'm teaching you is that beliefs are decisions, and those decisions can be changed. So where this shows up again in terms of sales, it's, I'm not going with the sales. I don't want to be too pushy. How many people, I know that I definitely had that for me. Visibility, nobody cares about what I've said. Or, oh my God, there's so many people that are already doing it. Who am I? And leadership, I have to do everything by myself. The inability to delegate, the inability to have important conversations or hard conversations with the people that you lead. Or just in terms of growth, I don't know. I don't know how. And the problem with that one is that how many more courses, how much more knowledge are we gonna get? And you can spend your life doing all of that. I know that there was a period of time for me where I was just consuming. And I know for me, a decision that I made this year is I'm done. I know what I need to do. So if there's work to be done, it's internal. It's not something outside of me. So I'm contributing instead of consuming this year. All right, so one of the things that happens sometimes in terms of making that decision, and I'd love to know how many of you will agree with me or share, is feeling like you need to know how. Before you can make a decision to do something, you want to know, what are the steps? How is that going to happen? Okay, I want to make $10,000 a month. Okay, well, how am I going to do that? And so that how keeps people stuck, because it does not give you what you need in order to move forward. I've got these all messed up. There we go. For most people, you need to be in action first. Once you get into action, everything starts lining up for you. It's the ability to take that first step. And for me, that first step is to make a new decision, because when you make a new decision, you're declaring to yourself, to the universe, to your higher power, that you're serious about this. Like, this is what is going to happen now. And as you start getting into action, the universe starts helping you with the information that you need on what's the how. And it may be that you take this step and you realize, oh, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Oh, that's my next step. So not knowing the how is okay. We'll know the how, like it's going to show up for you. And that's part of the decision, is knowing that as I take the action that I need to be taking, it's all going to unfold the way that it's supposed to. That we're here to learn and grow and expand. And again, all of that is still based on the decision that you've made for your life. Now, one of the things that I love about this work is this tool. And it's called the Decision Matrix. And it's based on the idea that the first step is to identify what is the limiting belief. So again, going back to what are your results? Whatever area of your business you're not getting the results that you want, to spend some time looking at what are the beliefs, what do I believe about that? What do I believe about that process that you went through? The beliefs, the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, and the results. To really boil that down. And once you identify what that limiting belief is, the second step is to make a new decision. Now, you want that new decision, we can say that in terms of an empowering belief. So if the belief is, money's hard to make, the new belief could be, money is easy to make. There's so many different ways that money can come to me. It needs to be something that stretches you, but that you believe can be true. So if you don't believe, let's just say, like it could be a belief where I'm learning how to figure this out versus I have no idea. Like this is so foreign to me. Like the limiting belief is I'm not going to be able to learn this. Well, the new belief could be I've learned before, I can learn how to do this. So finding a new decision that feels aligned with the results that you're wanting to get. Lauren?
Can I offer one to April?
Sure.
Because ever since you shared, all I've been thinking is you no longer have the payroll cap of your employer. That's all I've been sitting here thinking for you is like, what do you mean you can't make as much as your job? You no longer have the payroll cap of your previous employer. You can go out and make whatever you want, whatever business model feels alignment for you, and I know it's newer, but like, to me, it's like you just blew the ceiling off what you were previously earning. So if you can like shift to something that feels true for you,
Right.
that's pretty cool.
And I want to say that's a worthiness challenge. That's a worthiness
100%.
challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's talking about making a new decision and
I
changing
love
the
it.
belief.
I love
so
it.
it's like,
Because it
Yeah.
resonates with me also.
Yeah.
This difficulty to ask for what I need and and deserve with regards to the work that I do, because I'm always worried that I'm going to inconvenience everybody else with that price.
Absolutely.
And I'm finding that the people who most are loyal with me have been having no problem paying me what I'm worth.
Absolutely.
So it's really me trying to figure out why it is I'm so stuck in this lack of worthiness.
Yeah.
that tends to
And
be
that-
a much more female problem than
Yeah,
male anyway.
yes.
Having worked with a lot of them, I'm sure you can,
But to your point, Evelyn, and the work that I do, it's really about understanding where does that come from.
Right, which
Right.
I'm working on.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust me.
And the decision is, I am worthy. And you just gave evidence for it. So the third step is, what is the evidence that that is already true in this moment? Any new decision that you make has evidence, whether it is evidence of somebody else doing it, evidence in terms of just small things like money's easy to make. It could be that you find, a quarter on the sidewalk.
Right.
It's small, but it's evidence. And so our job is, once we make that new decision, is to start stacking up the evidence. Now, what's so interesting to me about this is that from a neuroscience perspective, again, there's something in your brain called the reticular activating system. It's your filter, okay? We process so much information in our brain, but the reticular activating system, what it does is it filters all of this information and it finds the information that validates what your beliefs are, okay? So it could be the new belief, oh my God, I just got a new car and it's red, a red Mercedes, let's say. Then you're driving down the street and what do you see? Red Mercedes everywhere.
Oh, that happens. Yeah, it definitely happens, right?
Okay. It's not that they miraculously started appearing, folks. It's that your brain and that part of your brain, the RAS, is now really tuned into that. So the only reason that you may not have evidence for your new decision is only because your brain was looking out into the world and wanting to find the belief or the evidence that you're not worthy, or I'm never going to make that money. Like, that's what it's looking for. So when you make a new decision, your brain is a goal-achieving machine. It wants to show you what's out there for you. And one of the things, well, not one of the things, there's three things that happens when you make a new decision. You begin to think differently. Your brain, again, you've made a decision and it activates your whole body. Like, if you truly decide, this is what's happening, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I believe, everything around you starts to change because you start to think differently. Your perception about things, the opportunities start lining up for you. And then you get these coincidences and synchronicities. And it's because you're now tuned into the vibration of what's happening in the world, and your brain is going out there looking for evidence to validate. But you have to make a decision first. It doesn't work the other way around. Because again, the psycho-cybernetic loop, the belief, the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, and the results, that's always working. Now, it can work to your detriment, as we've shown you, but it can also work to get you the results that you want. Because when you make a new decision, you're going to have new thoughts. Those new thoughts are going to create new feelings, more confidence, more ability to show up. Your actions are going to start to become more consistent, and you'll start getting the results, because the results will always be in alignment with what your beliefs are. So you don't really need a new strategy. What you need is a new decision. So today I want to ask you, what decision will you make about your future that your business depends on? Anybody want to share any new decision as we've gone through today's presentation that you go, God, if I made that new decision, like, everything would change?
I definitely have some in mind. Share.
Yeah.
The sky's the limit is my new decision for me. The sky's the limit, and also going back to the worthiness and thinking about, like, you know, when a new client came on and didn't even flinch at my pricing, which was more than other clients, you know, because I was trying to get where I should be. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
Have I been asking too little?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And actually, I met with another client who told me, as your business grows and you start working with other clients of other sizes, sometimes your pricing may be too low and you will not even be considered because of that.
That's so true.
And I'm like, wow.
I was told by a mentor a long time ago. I didn't know that he was mentoring me at the time, but he sat down and he said, you know, I make $250 an hour. He says, if you walk into a room with two people offering to do the same job, and one is charging $40 an hour and one is charging $150 an hour, who are you going to have more confidence in? And I was like, whoa, that
That's
blows
a
my
good
mind.
point.
Now, that doesn't mean that the $150 an hour person is better, but
Right.
it's just this psychological shift with people.
Absolutely.
And so he said, stay within your value so that, you know, you're competing with the appropriate
I
people.
like the way that's termed, stay within your value,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's really important. How do you value your services?
Right.
Because the pricing needs to be in accordance with that.
Well, what I find is that the universe is pretty serendipitous with how, you know, these things, even dreaming, like I always know that if I start dreaming about it, thinking about it all the time, it's eventually going to make its way to me. And I don't know how that works, but it's just a weird thing. It proved to me to be true. And I was like, wait, what is this thing? You know, because I'm not doing manifesting. I guess I am, but you know, it's not like I sit
We
Oh,
there and
all
go,
are all
oh,
the
I'm gonna
time.
manifest, because I don't think that way. But I just know that when I want to see something happen in my life, I start finding these opportunities that start leading me in that direction.
Well, that's a little bit of law of attraction.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that in the work that we do is to really identify, and the first thing always is, what do you want your business to look like? How much money do you want to be making? What does it look like? Like for me, my coaching is one, and then the bookstore is another, and so I have this whole script about what that looks like. Like, where do I want to be in 5 years? And to your point, the more that you focus your energy and attention to that vision, as if in this moment it was already that way, is where the magic is. So obviously, power of decision is super important, but it is about how you show up in this moment. Those decisions like live in your body and need to feel good, so that every day when you wake up, like, you know where you're going. And you're acting as if, because one of the things, and it's not even part of the slide, but it's just who I am, is we live in the present moment. So there's no past. The past lives in your memory, which I will tell you, there's studies that show that your memory of what actually happened is not even accurate to what actually happened. And the future is still left to unfold. So what's kind of interesting is that the reality that you're experiencing in this moment is what's already been manifested. Like, that's the work that you were doing, and the thoughts and the feelings and the results and all of that is kind of what led you to this moment. In this moment, right now, who you're being, the energy that you're putting out, the decisions that you're making, that's what's creating your future. So the more that you can do what you're doing, and thank you for sharing that, the more that you can be in that feeling of what you want it to look like already is what's going to close that gap. And again, the reason why I love this part, or not this part, but this presentation is that it all starts with a decision that you make about how it's going to be. Like, that's what I mean by a decision. This is my truth now. And the more that you stack that evidence, the more your brain goes, oh, yeah, that's true. And what you're doing is creating a new neural pathway. And what's interesting in this moment, because of all the work that's being done from a quantum perspective, is it doesn't have to take long. Like, you know, I thought when I first started this work, well, you know, it's taken me 62 years to get to this point. That's a lot of belief that I've had about certain things. But I gotta tell you, the work can be really quick when you decide that this is how it's gonna be. Now, like with anything else, and this is what I share, and I've shared this in trainings when I was in corporate. It's just like when you learn how to drive. You remember being in school in your high school classroom and you had the manual and you're looking at it and you're like overwhelmed, like, how am I ever gonna know how to do this? And you get in the car and, oh my God, I gotta check this and check that and check the other, and you're driving and you're so unsure, and then you're driving some more. And I don't know about you guys, but I get from point A to point B and sometimes I don't know how I got there.
You're right.
How many can relate? Okay. It's the same thing. But it takes the practice of remembering every time that you start feeling doubt, any time that you're not doing what you know you should be doing, is to take a moment and think about what's driving that right now. What's the belief? Oh, that's that old belief. No, I've made a new decision. And you literally have to talk to yourself. My new decision is, and this is the evidence that I have. And be looking every day, and as much as you can, for more evidence of how that's actually true. Because the more that you put attention to that, your brain will continue to find that evidence for you. So, in conclusion, if this resonated with you, this is the work that I do. I work with business leaders, entrepreneurs, and people who just want to have their life be the way that they want. I help them to get from point A to point B. And all the work that I do is this work. What are the beliefs that are driving the thoughts that you're having, the feelings that you're having, the actions that you're taking, and the results that you're getting? Because if the results that you're getting are not what you want, it's not part of that vision of your future, then that's where the work is. It's really to identify that so that you can consistently show up for yourself and create the life that you want. Consistent revenue in your business, consistent growth, great sales, and having the business that you wanted when you started your business. So, thank you.
I'd like to give Maite a testimonial. Like, I've been working with you for 3 weeks now?
Yeah.
And it's just been great. She's really, not only is she one of my best friends, but just her whole approach to you and the care and the compassion and just you're wonderful and getting to those, self-limiting beliefs that hold us back. Sometimes we don't even know that we have them, and they're there and present. So I think you're wonderful.
Aw, thank you, Patty.
I think it's great you focused on the beliefs. I'm currently reading a book called The Unseen Journey, and it's all about the beliefs you establish as a child and the influence that your parents have with little feelings of inadequacy. And he gives, for instance, a great example of as a small child going out to a restaurant being told, you pick whatever you want, to eat. And then you pick something and the parent's like, well, are you sure you really want to get that? Is that really what you want? You normally get this other item. And how little subtle things like that are a seed for, well, maybe I don't make good decisions, or maybe I'm not able to do this. And it's really great to explore that stuff comes from your childhood. And even if you feel like you had a healthy childhood, but still there's little beliefs that are established, like you said at the beginning, up to age 7, that you still carry around.
What was the name of that book?
The Unseen Journey. I think it's Dr. Marco Cortez or something like that.
Not Carlos Garcia.
Carlos Garcia. Okay.
Is that it?
It's a Spanish name, yes.
Oh, okay, great.
And what I love about what you said, which was really surprising, so, having worked in a psych hospital, like, you see so much trauma. It's like, and then even the last job I had was the same thing. Just lots of referrals of these kids that are being, behavioral health. I worked in the IDD world. But one of the things that, even in conversations and, with Nurture, I've had a number of authors that describe their childhood as what anybody would consider just really great, like great parents and, all these things. But there was things that occur that as a child, you make a decision about. You create a belief that has nothing to do with anything other than in that moment in time, like you said, your parents said something different than what you wanted to hear or whatever it was, and you start carrying that belief and it's showing up in your life. So it doesn't have to be about trauma, but it does have to be about really looking at the fact that you get to decide. Like, for me, that's the most exciting part, is that we're not stuck. We get to decide how we want it to be. How do you want your life to be?
Just to add to that, that's one of the things that I used to joke with my son. He's now 30, but throughout his childhood, like when I find that I've done something, I'll repair it with him. And then I'd be like, okay, someday this is gonna be something good for your therapist, like, because I can't control the decisions he makes about those experiences, looking at my own childhood and recognizing how I saw things a certain way. My sister saw something totally different. It's super interesting when you reflect, right? And so I always say, it's like I don't harbor a lot of resentment with my family, because I recognize everybody's doing the best job that they know how with the skill sets that they have. But it's still my job on this life, school that we're going through, to constantly be paying attention to how I show up in it. But it's always really fun to go, oh gosh, that's where I got this one from.
Well, I had the same conversation with my son not too long ago. He's 25, and he finally agreed to go to therapy. And I said, like, I'm ready. When you come to the point where you need to have a conversation with me about like how I messed you up, I get it. I understand.
I'll
because-
listen.
No, and I had that same conversation with my mom, because the decisions that she made, and it's a whole story, but like it's part of who I am, and it has deeply affected me. And at the end of the day, I love what you said, because it's true, and I want to say this to any new parents or any people who are parents here. Like, you do the best you know how to do. Like, you just do. You never know how that is going to affect them. And so you have to trust that you're doing the best you can, and they're going to be okay. Because if you give them what you need, the love, the caring, the attention, they're going to be okay. And you're your own person, and as an adult, you get to decide, regardless of what has happened. This is your life, and you get to have it be however you want. And again, I'll just end with, that's why I'm so passionate about the work that I do, is because we need each and every one of you to be living your best life. Like, that's it. That's why we came here, to have a great, beautiful adventure. So, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, affirmations for Mike?
It was amazing. I loved it. I think we should do a group picture of one of your slides.
I brought you a little cheat sheet that gives you all of the information that I went over. Now this one's more general, like literally what I like about this work also is that it could be related, like we talked about it in terms of business, but relationships, finances, your health, like it's all the same thing. So this is more generic, it's not business related, but
But have them, that's
thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you guys.